You are standing in a crowded room, perhaps at a party or a networking event. The music is loud, the lighting is warm, and the air is filled with the hum of conversation. You are holding a drink, smiling and nodding at the appropriate times. People are talking to you and you are talking back. You are physically present and socially you are succeeding. Yet beneath the surface of the chatter, you feel a profound, aching silence. It is a feeling of being separated from everyone else by a thick plate of glass. You can see them and they can see you, but you cannot touch. This is the specific hollow ache of loneliness that exists not in the absence of people, but in their presence. It is the realization that while these people know your name, your job title, and perhaps your favorite movie, they do not actually know you. This experience is one of the most confusing and shameful paradoxes of modern adult life. We are often told that loneliness is a result of isolation. We assume that the cure for loneliness is simply to go out more, to join a club, or to make more friends. So, you do those things. You fill your calendar with coffee dates and happy hours. You accumulate contacts and social obligations. But often, the more you fill your schedule, the more isolated you feel. You come home from a night out feeling drained and empty, wondering why the math isn't working. If you are surrounded by friends, why do you feel like you are on an island? To understand this, we must distinguish between two very different concepts: social isolation and emotional isolation. Social isolation is objective. It is a measure of how many people you interact with. Emotional isolation is subjective. It is a measure of how safe and seen you feel in those interactions. You can cure social isolation by walking into a busy coffee shop, but curing emotional isolation requires something much more terrifying.
It requires intimacy.
And intimacy is not just about closeness, it is about truth. The reason you feel lonely in a crowd is likely because you are engaging in what psychologists call performative connection. You are presenting a curated, polished version of yourself to the world. You are offering a mask for people to like, rather than a person for them to know. This behavior is not an accident, and it is not a character flaw. It is a defense mechanism. Somewhere along the line, you likely learned that certain parts of you were acceptable, and other parts were not. You learned that being smart, funny, helpful, or easygoing got you praise. You also learned that being sad, angry, needy, or confused got you rejected or ignored. So you developed a strategy. You decided to hide the messy parts of your humanity to ensure your survival in the group. You effectively split yourself in two. There is the public self, who is competent and fun, and the shadow self, who carries all your fears and insecurities. The tragedy of this strategy is that it works too well. People do like your public self. They invite you to things. They enjoy your company. But because you know that you are hiding your true self, you cannot internalize their affection. When someone compliments you, a voice in your head whispers, if they knew the truth, they wouldn't say that. You feel like an imposter in your own relationships. You are trapped in a lonely logic loop. You hide your flaws to be loved, but because you are hiding, you can never truly feel loved. You can only feel admired for your performance. And admiration is a very poor substitute for connection. It is like eating empty calories. It fills you up for a moment, but it does not nourish you. Let us look at how this performative connection manifests in your daily life. One of the most pervasive patterns is the "I'm fine" reflex. When a friend asks how you are, your automatic response is, "Good," or "busy but good." You say this even if your life is falling apart. You say this even if you spent the morning crying in your car. You do this because you do not want to be a burden. You do not want to bring down the mood. You view your struggles as a private failure that must be resolved before you are presentable to others. But by constantly signaling that you are fine, you are telling the world that you do not need support. You are building a wall that keeps help out. You are waiting for someone to read your mind and see through your lie, but most people will simply take your word for it and move on. Another common pattern is the conversational safety zone. You might notice that your interactions with friends stay strictly on the surface. You talk about work projects, the latest TV shows, politics, or mutual acquaintances. You exchange information, but you do not exchange emotion. You treat conversation like a game of tennis, hitting the ball back and forth without ever stopping to hold it. These interactions can be entertaining, but they are not bonding. You can spend 3 hours talking to someone about the news and leave feeling exactly as lonely as when you arrived. Real connection happens in the vulnerable spaces between the facts. It happens when you talk about how the news makes you feel, not just what happened. A third pattern is the role of the entertainer, or the funny one. Humor is a wonderful social lubricant, but it is also a powerful shield. If you can keep everyone laughing, you can keep them at a safe distance. You might use self-deprecation to beat them to the punch, making fun of your own flaws before anyone else can. You might deflect serious questions with a joke. This allows you to control the narrative. If you are the jester, you are indispensable to the group, but you are also invisible.
People love the show, but they rarely ask about the actor behind the curtain.
You might find that you are the one everyone calls when they want a party, but no one calls when you are going through a hard time because you have never shown them that you have hard times. The cost of these patterns is exhaustion. Maintaining a mask takes a tremendous amount of cognitive energy. You have to constantly monitor your behavior, edit your words, and suppress your reactions. This is why social events can feel so draining for people who are actually extroverted but emotionally isolated. You are not tired from the socializing, you are tired from the acting. You are tired from the constant vigilance required to ensure no one sees the cracks in the armor. Breaking out of this isolation does not require a sudden dramatic overhaul of your personality. You do not need to start sobbing at dinner parties or dumping your childhood trauma on acquaintances. In fact, that kind of floodlighting can be just another form of defense. True vulnerability is slow, steady, and measured. It is about closing the gap between who you are and who you show, 1 inch at a time. A practical tool to start this process is what we can call the 10% rule. In your next interaction with a friend, try to be just 10% more real than you usually are. If someone asks how you are, instead of the automatic, "I'm fine," try saying, "Honestly, I've been feeling a bit drained this week." You do not have to explain why. You do not have to ask for a therapy session. You are simply dropping a small anchor into reality. You are giving them a tiny piece of the truth. Watch how they respond. Most of the time, you will see a shift in their eyes. They might say, "Me too, actually." By lowering your shield just an inch, you give them permission to lower theirs. You move the interaction from a performance to a connection.
Another crucial step is to audit your friendships.
We often keep friends out of habit or history, even when the connection has dried up. It is helpful to distinguish between maintenance friends and growth friends. Maintenance friends are the ones you keep up with because you have known them for years. The dynamic is set in stone. You play your roles, and it is comfortable but stagnant. Growth friends are the ones who are capable of meeting you in the deep end. They are the ones who ask follow-up questions. They are the ones who do not flinch when you share something difficult. You do not need to cut off your maintenance friends, but you do need to recognize that they cannot be your primary source of emotional nutrition. You need to invest your energy into the people who have the capacity to see you. You might also need to challenge the myth that strong people do not need others. Many of us carry a belief that independence is the highest virtue. We think that needing reassurance or company is a sign of weakness. We tell ourselves, "I should be able to handle this on my own." But humans are a social species. We are biologically wired for co-regulation. Our nervous systems are designed to calm down in the presence of safe others. Denying your need for connection does not make you strong, it just makes you lonely. It is not a weakness to admit that you feel isolated. It is the first step toward finding your way back to the tribe. It is also important to recognize that vulnerability is a risk. There is a chance that you will share something real, and the other person will not know how to handle it. They might change the subject or look uncomfortable. This is painful, but it is also valuable data. It tells you that this specific person is not currently capable of the intimacy you need. It saves you from wasting more energy trying to get water from an empty well.
Rejection of your true self is better than acceptance of your fake self. At least with rejection, you are free to move on and find the people who align with you. With fake acceptance, you are stuck in a prison of your own making. As you start to practice showing up more authentically, you will likely feel a spike in anxiety. This is what Brené Brown calls the vulnerability hangover. You might go home and think, "Why did I say that? I shared too much. They probably think I'm weird."
This is your old defense mechanism trying to pull you back into line. It is trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. Acknowledge the fear, but do not let it stop you. Remind yourself that the discomfort you feel is the sensation of growth. You are expanding your capacity for intimacy. Ultimately, the goal is to reach a place where you are no longer managing your image, but simply inhabiting your life. You want to build relationships where you can be tired, grumpy, excited, or unsure, and know that the connection will hold. This kind of safety is the only cure for deep loneliness. It is the feeling of being alone together, where you are two distinct individuals who have chosen to witness each other without judgment. So, the next time you feel that pang of loneliness in a crowded room, do not blame yourself for not being entertaining enough. Do not assume you need to be more impressive to bridge the gap. Instead, look for one small opportunity to stop performing. Look for one moment where you can drop the mask and let someone see the person underneath. It is scary, yes, but it is the only way to find out that you are actually lovable, flaws and all. And that is a realization that is worth every ounce of the risk.